Okay, so today we've got Daily Duppy, Digga Daily Duppy, and I want to find about 10 or so rhetorical devices in the text. The first one is iperbato or hyperbaton, and this is the inversion in common word order. So here, this is maybe the least interesting one in my opinion, but we've got Queen I want a Vic. So normally in a regular sentence you'd say I don't want Queen Vic, something like that. But it's inverted, and the reason I think that for me it's the least interesting is hyperbaton is kind of everywhere, especially in maybe text or rap or poem, something like that. The words are kind of switched around either for emphasis or maybe for rhyme as well. So that's the first one, hyperbaton. The next one is anastrophe, and this is kind of like a mini hyperbaton, because instead of maybe a shift of clause, you just have a shift of even just two or three words. Here there's quite a nice one, if I can find it. Yep. Where's it gone? Here we go. Alright, so whip this gang and his head jerk back. Normally it'd be jerks back. But here we've got back jerk. So that's just a mini swap of two words. It's quite a funny one. So that's anastrophe. Then I've got anaphora, epistrophe, anadiplosis, chiasmus. So the first three, or the first two at least, is just a repetition. So a repetition of a word at the beginning of a verse and at the end of the verse, or a repetition maybe of two or three words, like in the I have a dream speech, or yes we can. They repeat the kind of phrase either at the beginning or the end. So if it's at the beginning, anaphora; if it's the end, epistrophe. In this text, okay, so as I was saying, in this text we do have a few cases more of anaphora. Okay, so the first anaphora that I found is it's haram for us to eat pork, but haram for them to get bacon. So you have a kind of repeat of haram at the beginning of the half clause. Then also a tiny bit with don't get cooked, don't get chopped. But here there's a bunch of half clauses, all quite chopped up, so there's not like a perfect verse with a perfect clear word at the beginning of each. Even in the final line, a bit explicit here, we've got ejaculate, got double, so that's anaphora because that's repetition at the beginning of the verse. Of epistrophe, I didn't really find anything in particular. You could say here, because in jail, but it's Pyrex filled with oil in jail, mix that with macro and foam using big man in big man jail. So again, a kind of maybe half epistrophe there, so half repetition at the end of the verse. And then anadiplosis is repetition of, imagine you have a clause, the final word of the clause, and then the first word of the subsequent clause. So repetition of the last word of a preceding clause, which I remember here they use a lot, like with the added on voices, so with capsule. So in Felton, in Big Man, German, Brookman, capsule. And if you hear the song, there's like another voice that says capsule. ZK should have been at school. So that could be the one possible example. But there's maybe more that I haven't found. But for me, the one example there of, and that's anadiplosis. Okay, so that's like a repetition. Imagine membrane capsule, comma, capsule, been at school. All right. Then we've got chiasmus. So chiasmus is a famous one, literary device, because it forms like a cross. So it's the inversion of two expressions which syntactically or semantically are the same, like sin is a pleasure and pleasure is a sin, is a classic one. Here again we don't maybe have like a full perfect example. So yeah, the one maybe is in the final line, but I don't really want to dwell too much on the final line. So yeah, but it's when you form a cross. Okay, and then quickly now I've got this middle section. Hyperbolic, I think everyone kind of knows, is like when an exaggerated comment. Assonance is anything like a repeated sound, so rhyme, alliteration, they're all forms of assonance. This here in the text, I've got it underlined. like an insane amount of assonance. So let's see, capsule, school, natural. Then look here, tilt, guilt, spilt, guilt, milk, built. So a huge amount of assonance. There's like a rhyme every 5 words. So it's not the classic, maybe one line of 12, one line of 12 rhyme. So a huge deal of hyperbole, assonance, and alliteration. Now we move on to similes and metaphors. In here there's a great amount of metaphors in the text, because they have to maybe hide or refer to and drug use and prison and shit, through a whole series of metaphors that not everyone knows. So the types of metaphors that exist basically are synecdoche, metonymy or metonymia. I've learned these all in Italian. And synesthesia. Synesthesia is the one where you relate it to a color, like feeling blue. So there's probably some examples in here, but it's a bit of a basic one. The one I was trying to remember is synecdoche, which is a part for all, so is a quantitative kind of metaphor. And metonymy, whatever it's called, is a qualitative one. So metonymy. No, synecdoche is like saying a blade instead of a sword or a knife. So a blade is a part of that object. So you refer to the full object with a part. Then you can even say like England won the football. So it's like 11 English or 11 English players, but you use the word England. So you're using all of the nation to talk about part of it. And then metonymy, instead, is a qualitative one. It's still the same idea, choosing a word to symbolize a different meaning. So like a crown, the crown to represent the UK royal family, Silicon Valley to, represent US tech. And then we've got even an example from the song here, Govs with keys. So Govs would be like the prison guards. Okay. Another quick metaphor is antonomasia, which is instead a metaphor or almost a nickname, because it's just for one person. So like the bard to represent William Shakespeare, or the goat to represent Michael Jordan, something like that. And crasis, I saw this one is a bit misleading because it's just like a contraction. Where you combine 2 words together, even like if you say I am and you say I'm. Yeah, so crax is where you combine 2 into 1, and ellipsis is a mission of words. So in this, in general, throughout the entire song, there's a huge deal of ellipsis, because, okay, even fresh home, still using a kettle, normally you'd say, like, I don't know, I've just got back from jail, I am still using a kettle. So as you can see, there's lots of no subjects. Removed verbs, so a whole bunch of words are omitted, maybe to make the text a bit more compact, to make it easier to rap, I'm guessing. There's also this litotes, which is where you state something, but it has to be the affirmative by denying the opposite. So I am not unaware, to say I am aware. I've put here, this is for sure not tuna, because at the beginning it says ain't nothing like tuna, but there he's affirming a negative, he's stating a negative. So not example of litotes or this thing here, but I couldn't find any others. So for antonomasia, we've got 2 funny ones. There's a whole series of reference to people like Kruger, ads. I don't know all of the ZK. I don't know like specifically who these people are, but I'm imagining some of those are going to be antonomasia. It's going to be a kind of a nickname, subname for a person. The ones that I did pick up was Yardman like Jacob, but this person's Jacob, I forgot his surname. He's like a Jamaican, like a drug lord, something like that. And, so yeah, that's a kind of partial antonomasia there. There's also Simon from Simon Says, which is a fun one, because this is a hilarious kind of intermedial reference, because everyone knows Simon Says, but to put Simon Says in a song and use it in this way, like, my young boys do what I say, I'm Simon, because Simon says this, you do what Simon says, charged up and vibrant. So that's an amazing piece of work there. And then we have a whole, if we think about the concepts of intermediality and transmediality, there's Intermediality is just like allusions and nods to. So the main allusions here are going to be GTA. All of this is a GTA reference, and then thrown in with a few drug lords. Then we've got Simon Says. I don't know if what Simon Says is, if it's like and it's not really a nursery rhyme, but there's again a bit of intermediality. There's another cool one at the beginning is meddling kids. Meddling kids there is definitely metonymy, okay? Because meddling kids, it's a reference to Scooby-Doo, and at the end of the Scooby-Doo episode, the bad guy says, "I would have got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids." And he's using meddling kids as a metaphor for him and his friends, or him and his group of friends. And yeah, so that's metonymia and intermediality in the same sentence. We also have foil as synecdoche. If you remember, synecdoche is using a part of an object to represent the whole object. I'm guessing there's more than foil. It's not just plain with foil. But yeah, in general, it's been nice to print it out, divide it up by the rhymes, divide it up by the rhetorical devices, both of shifting of the words and also the metaphor, various types of metaphors present, and antonomasia, ellipsis, crassus. So most of these things, if we talk about implicit knowledge, people realize and know and use this, and the explicit knowledge is just giving them a Greek name. So, yeah.